Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast Special Edition series, where I preview and predict every men's college basketball conference tournament. We've done the NEC, the ASUN, Horizon, Patriot, Big South, OVC, Missouri Valley, Sun Belt, West Coast, and SoCon. And now we're on the 11th episode of the series. The 12th episode of the series. We did the CAA too. I forgot about that. So this is the 12th episode of the series, and it is the Summit League. Interesting season for the Summit League this year. Your one seed, South Dakota State, a perfect 18-0 in conference play, 27-4 overall. Your two seed is North Dakota State, 21-9 on the year, 13-5 in conference play. Your three seed is Oral Roberts, 18-11 on the year, 12-6 in conference play. Your four seed is UMKC, 19-11 on the season, 12-6 in conference play. Your five seed is South Dakota, 18-11 on the year, 11-7 in conference play. Your six seed is Western Illinois, 16-14 on the year, 7-11 in conference play. Your seven seed is Denver, 11-20 on the year, 7-11 in conference play. And your eight seed is Omaha, 5-24 on the year, 4-14 in conference play. Two teams did not make this tournament. North Dakota, 6-25 overall, 2-16 in conference play, did not qualify. And then St. Thomas, 10-20 on the season, 4-14 in conference play, ineligible because of its transition from Division III. So they are ineligible. So Omaha is in instead. This tournament will start tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, with the quarterfinals, which runs 2 days, actually, Saturday and Sunday. Monday's the semis, and Tuesday is the final. All right, so without further ado, let's get this started here. So, quarterfinals, 7 o'clock on ESPN Plus. 8 seed Omaha, 1 seed San Diego State. Omaha, only two guys in double-digit points per game, Frankie Fiddler and Felix Lametti. And South Dakota State, they're very well-balanced, led by Baylor Schreierman, 16.2 a game. Douglas Wilson averages 16, and Noah Friedel, 15.1 points per game. Very well balanced with the big three there. My projection is South Dakota State by 15-8, total 157 and 3/500. Therefore, I have South Dakota State advancing. And by the way, this tournament's being held at the Denny Sanford Premier Center, as it is each and every year. The second of two quarterfinal matches, 7 seed Denver and 2 seed North Dakota State. Denver improved as the year gone on. 4 guys averaging in double figures per game, led by KJ Hunt. And North Dakota State, one of the better teams in this conference. They have a well-balanced roster, too. 4 guys averaging double digits per game, led by Rocky Cruiser, 15.8 points per game. My projection is North Dakota State by 12 and a quarter, total 143 and 9/10. Therefore, I have North Dakota State advancing. Sunday quarterfinal games. 5 seed South Dakota, 4 seed UMKC. South Dakota, very well-balanced too. 4 guys averaging double figures per game, led by Cruz Parrott Hunt at 15 a game. And UMKC, same thing, 4 guys averaging double figures per game. One of the better scorers in the conference, Evan Gilliard II. My projection is South Dakota by 7/8 and the total of 144 and 3/500. Therefore, I have South Dakota actually advancing to the semifinals. In the last of the 4 quarterfinal games, Sunday, evening. I think this would be 9:30 East Coast time. 6 seed Western Illinois, 3 seed Oral Roberts. Western Illinois overachieved this season. 4 guys double-digit points per game, led by Trenton Massner at 16.4 points per game. And Oral Roberts, who was in the tournament a year ago, don't forget, led by Max Abmas, the junior, 22.7 points per game. A really good score, probably the player of the year in this conference. My projection, Oral Roberts by 3 1/8 total of 157 and 55 hundredths. Therefore, I have Oral Roberts advancing to the semifinals. Semifinals Monday, March 7th. You have 5 seed South Dakota and 1 seed South Dakota State. So the Battle of South Dakotas in this one, but ultimately I think South Dakota State's the better team, more well balanced. Sherman, Wilson, and Friedel will lead the way. I have them projected by 7 and 7/8. Therefore, I have them to the final. And the second of 2 semifinal games, 3 seed Oral Roberts and 2 seed North Dakota State. I know Oral Roberts has the best score in the conference in Abmas, and North Dakota State has the depth. And I think that depth usually comes through in this situation, although the scores sometimes come through here. But here I'm going to go with the depth of North Dakota State. I have them projected by 2.5. So Cruiser, Sam Griesel, Grant Nelson, and Tyree Eady will all lead the way, as I have North Dakota State going to the final to take on South Dakota State, which would be a lot of fun. The best 2 teams in this conference, arguably. Both teams have a ton of depth. We have an undefeated conference team against a North Dakota State who's very well balanced too. I think both these teams are capable of pulling off upsets in the big dance if they get there. But ultimately, I think that the best player on the court will be Sherman, and then Wilson and Friedel not far behind them. And I know Cruiser and Griesel will feel like they belong too. Those are 5 or 6 great players, and the 6th player being North Dakota State's Eady. But I have South Dakota State by 4 3/4, and I think that they will punch its ticket to the big dance. And now the question is, what if South Dakota State loses early? I don't think they're a lock. I think if they lose in the final to either North Dakota State or Oral Roberts, then they might be the last team in and be in the play-in game. Potentially. But I think a lot would have to break for that to happen. So, South Dakota State's under some pressure here to win this conference tournament. I think South Dakota State, North Dakota State, and Oral Roberts are capable of winning games in the big dance. And we saw Oral Roberts win last year. Don't forget that. And now futures for this conference tournament. So, if I had to go with the value pick, it would be Oral Roberts at plus 550. They were in it last year. I think that they have a chance to do it again. So, Oral Roberts plus 550 is a value pick, but my actual pick would be South Dakota State at minus 190. But I think that South Dakota State is a little overvalued, and I think Oral Roberts should be 5-1 with North Dakota State. And I think South Dakota State should be like minus 175 per se. All right, so there you have it for the Summit League preview and predictions show for their men's basketball conference tournament. Next up will be the AEC.